We're live, Lena. We're live.
Yay.
Great to see you again today. And thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. Really appreciate it. I guess the reason I wanted to put this session on is pretty simple because AI is coming into our lives, it's coming into our businesses, and therefore the day-to-day tasks are being taken away, which therefore means we need to build very strong relationships, and they become even more important because that's what we're left with. And elicitation is a real skill that helps build those relationships. It helps people relax. It persuades them to open up, trust us, which is why this presentation and this conversation matters today. And luckily, I'm joined by the wonderful Lena Sisco, who's a former US Navy interrogator, an expert in communication, behavior, and elicitation. And she's genuinely brilliant at this topic. So I'm delighted to have her. So I think, Lena, that is flattery. That's probably one of the elicitation techniques that you'll cover. So
it is.
I've covered that. I know it doesn't work on you, but I've covered that. A little bit of housekeeping, if I may. So the presentation will run for about 45 minutes, followed by a 15-minute Q&A. And then my team behind the scenes are taking questions. So please put them in the comments box if you can. We'll collate them, and then we'll put them to Lena at the end of the presentation. So that's the introduction done. So, Lena, welcome. Thank you very much. Elicitation, tell us more about it.
Thank you for having me. It was funny. I had a good colleague text me last night. He's like, "Are you excited?" And I said, "I am." He's like, "You should be, because every opportunity that you can talk about this technique is amazing." And I thought about it, and I was like, it's not known. Which is so odd to me. I brought it to law enforcement. Prior to me teaching it in my classes, they never were taught it. I will still ask people, what is elicitation? And they don't know. They don't know how to answer it. So I'm super happy to be able to talk to a lot of other people and introduce this amazing conversational skill set. Some people think that it's very mysterious and it's a little manipulative. Let me tell you right now, it's neither. It's not mysterious. When I tell you what it is, it's so easy. And because it's so effective, I think that people think, well, is it manipulation? Let me warn you. If you are out to use this technique to manipulate people, then you shouldn't be using it. All right. So we always use elicitation in line with our moral compass. The reason why it is so brilliant and so effective on anyone is because it's rapport based. It is a conversational skill set that immediately decreases stress and anxiety and makes people feel comfortable enough to open up, trust you, and tell you whatever they want to share. Last night, I also thought, I was like, if I had to put an analogy to what this is, it's like a nutcracker because it opens everyone up immediately. It's kind of magical. It's really amazing. You need to practice it. It doesn't come naturally at first, which is so odd that for some reason I've become like one of the go-to people in this area and one of the experts because I hated it when I first learned it. I didn't like it because I wasn't good at it. I didn't feel confident using it. And I had this stress and anxiety around it because my thoughts were, you can't do it. You're never going to be able to be successful. So it was creepy to me because I felt creepy. I didn't trust myself. And so I just didn't like it. And I got through the training and I was like, I'm never touching it again. And I was in an interrogation one day, just could not build rapport. I couldn't connect with this detainee. I had tried every approach tactic available, every technique I knew. And my interpreter was looking at me like, what are you going to do now? And I was like, well, I'm not giving up. That's number one. So it was like 2 hours. And then I thought, I don't know what else to do. And I just stopped asking questions. I just stopped. And I just started making statements about anything. And slowly the detainees started talking and talking more. And then 4 hours go by. I have pages of notes. My hand is cramping. And I thought, what happened? I was like, I know exactly what happened. I stopped asking questions. And because I stopped asking questions and only made statements to carry on that conversation, to push it forward, I drove it to the topics I wanted to go to. It came across as unassuming. So the detainee never thought I was after any information. He just thought I was having a conversation with them. And that's the brilliance of it. So the light bulb came on that day for me in 2002. And I thought, that's solicitation. And that's why it's so effective. It really can disarm anyone, from your kid to a client to a new hire. It doesn't matter what industry you want to use it. In my industry, I use it on detainees and criminals. I also teach a ton of business people, as you know, because it disarms anyone and it creates this safe environment where people feel comfortable enough to trust you and to open up and tell you things, right? So I'm just going to jump into it. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, let's go. All right, I have to look at my little slides here on my StreamYard, which I'm very impressed. I've never used this. When I teach elicitation, today I'm going to walk you through how I would teach it in my longer program. So I'm going to give you a little background on it. And I'm going to tell you that before you even try these techniques out, I teach 15 in total. Today I'm going to share about 5 with you because they're real easy to do. They're easy to understand. You will want to practice them later today, I promise you. But it starts with trust, right? So before we get to the techniques, I want to talk about trust and awareness. You have to be super aware. You have to be aware of how you're coming across to people, how you look, how you sound, because people are perceiving you. They're judging you every second that they can. So you have to make sure how you're presenting yourself, they're going to perceive you the best possible way ever. And that best possible way is you're likable, you're approachable, and I trust you. Right? So if we're not aware, we may send the wrong signal. We may miss information that people are telling us. So I tell people a lot of times that when we're uncertain of something, or if we have doubts, or if we have a little nervousness about a conversation, we tend to go internal. And if you're listening to that internal voice, you are not listening to what the person is saying. You can't do 2 at once. So it's really focusing in all your awareness on the other person. Make it about them. It's not about you. We may get emotional. If you get emotional, that immediately is going to take you out of your rational thinking brain. It's going to decrease your mental agility. It's going to put you in your limbic brain. Now you'll have that cognitive ability to carry on a critical conversation. It's going to take a nosedive. So it's always remaining confident and calm all the time. You may see deceptive indicators in people who are actually truthful, which is really bad. You may miss deceptive indicators as well. And then finally, what I think, which is step number 4 on here, is the most critical when it comes to elicitation, is you're not going to be able to think on your feet. When it comes to elicitation, the key ingredients are you take a question and you turn it into a statement. You also need to drive a conversation. So you need to know the topics that you want to discuss and the objective of that conversation before you even start it. And then you have to plan and practice it. If you do not practice your conversations, they will not go the way you want them to. Trust me. I practice every conversation I have, every presentation. I practice it to myself. I practice it in my office, in the car, because once my mouth gets used to the words that I'm saying, when it comes time to have that conversation, I'm already used to how it's going to sound. And I feel good about it. It just increases your confidence. All right. With that, our awareness, right? You want to get rid of unproductive behaviors, I call them. It's all about being aware, focused, and productive behaviors. End all expectations. I'm going to tell you right now, just put them in the trash can. So that means any type of expectation that you have about a person, about information, I'm quieting my phone, about whether or not somebody knows something, just put it in the trash can. Expectations will bias how you think and how you approach people. Choose to act, not react, right? Stephen Covey, we have to be able to calm our emotions, to be able to, with a calm mind, listen to people, not take things personally, and know exactly what to say next to get what I want. And that's all about that mental agility. We should, when we're planning out these conversations to use elicitation, consider all the what ifs, I call them. What if they come back and ask this question I was totally unprepared for? What am I going to say? What if they do this? What if they come back, say something? You can never be taken off guard in an elicitation conversation, because if you are, that's the moment they're going to see your weakness. So it's that ability to keep that flow. And it's easy if you remain confident. And finally, don't jump the gun, right? Listen, we all have biases. It's the human brain, it's evolution, it's how we work. But don't jump the gun and assume something that this person likes you, dislikes you, is hiding information, won't be forthcoming. Because the moment that you do that, that's going to drive your entire behavior, and it's going to drive what you say and think. So anytime I go into a conversation, I do a check in my mind and I'm like, okay, it's time to be present. I'm not worrying about possible future things. Why would I do that? I'm not a forecaster, right? I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not going to worry about things in the past. I'm going to be fully present. Being fully present means you're aware and focused. It means you have this clarity that you can listen to people, not your internal voice, get every bit of information they're telling you, and then formulate the next thing you're going to say as a response. Your whole goal in this conversation is to keep it going and then drive it to what you want to get. Because if you lose control of the conversation, the other person will take it over. And now you're sitting there saying, ooh, I don't have the information I need right now. How am I going to get it? Right? So you have to, with that mental calmness, I'll call it, it really helps you look and feel confident. If there's one thing in the world that will push people away, it's if you feel insecure, you will look insecure. I call it giving off the creep factor. If you feel creepy, you look creepy. You will scare people away. So no matter what's going on or what worries you have, maintain that confidence. All right, let's talk about elicitation, right? So we have the right mindset. That's step number one. Let's get into the technique. So let me define it for you because it's so simple. And I think a lot of people make it more confusing or mysterious when it's really not. All elicitation is getting information without asking for it. That's it. It's that simple. I love my questions. I'm a former interrogator. They're my bread and butter. However, there's a time and place for them. And if I really want to focus on a client relation, or let's say I'm in executive recruiting and I want to make sure this new potential job candidate trusts me enough and they're really going to take this new job with this company and not leave me stranded, right? I need to build a relationship with that person. And relationships are built on trust. Elicitation is going to help me build trust, but get the information I want. Because every human assumes the only way we get information is through a question. It's not. All I have to do is make a statement, a provocative one, and it persuades people to talk. That's the nutcracker part of it. And James and I were just doing this before we got on live, right? He says something, I shared, then he shared, then I shared, and then we're full blown into a conversation chock full of details. And none of us asked a question, but this is how we do it. I would say like the real skill of elicitation is anybody can take a question and turn it into a provocative statement. The real skill comes with controlling that conversation and taking it to the topics you want to talk about, not what the other person does. And you do it seamlessly, you do it unassumingly. And at the end of your conversation, whether it's 15 minutes or 2 hours, you have everything you want. That person is happy, they trust you, and you have a good relationship. That's the whole goal of elicitation. It disarms people. So what it's not adversarial. It's not manipulative. It's not a sneaky way to get information. It's the exact opposite, right? And it's meant to relax people so they want to open up. I tell everybody in my classes, if you want the truth, you have to get people to want to tell you it. If they don't want to tell you it, you're not going to get it. It's just that easy. So elicitation is a way to get all the information, but gain trust as well and maintain that rapport. So let me tell you where it came from. It's not a new thing. It's an old thing. It's an old technique, and it predates the Cold War. But this is when it really became prevalent. So the Russians used to hire honeypots, they called them, really pretty ladies, who would target U.S. soldiers, bump them, we call it in the spy world. So they would bump them in places. It would get to know them. They'd flirt a little, have this unassuming, mundane conversation to the American soldier. And these honeypots, these ladies would extract critical intelligence information and then go report it back to the Russian intel services. How'd they do it? because they won the trust of the American soldier. They never asked for any information. So if I came up to you and asked you sensitive questions about how much money or revenue your business is making, or when your next investment's going to be, or how much you invested in X, you're not going to tell me that. You're not going to feel comfortable. So instead, I'm not going to ask for it. If I need some information, I'm just going to use elicitation. And that's what happened way back in the Cold War. That's how intelligence was collected from human sources, not asking for it, but using elicitation. And it works so well, we still use it today. All right, I outlined some benefits of elicitation because it's more than just collecting this one bit of information or controlling a conversation, right? Number one, let's say you're talking about sensitive topics and you don't want to come out and ask for this information because you may feel that you're going to be rude, or this person's really going to shut down or put their guard up and say, whoa, why are you asking me this? I don't even know you yet. So it could be just an opinion. A lot of people are hesitant to share opinions, especially about politics now. It's a dangerous topic. So if you really want to know this, don't ask for it. Use elicitation. There's other things like any type of industry knowledge, financial information. Use it for sensitive information. The information is not available in open source. You can't just go into Google, type it in and be like, oh, I need to find out that. The human source is the only one who has it. They have the inside knowledge. That's why you would use elicitation. You want the inside knowledge, not what's not available on a Google search. Questions can sometimes pigeonhole a conversation because, and I've seen this in so many interviews and interrogations. If you get on a line of questioning and you're not getting what you want, you may, like a dog on a bone, just hunker down on that one topic and not be able to see a bigger picture. And so now you've pigeonholed, you tunnel vision that conversation to one thing, and you forgot all these other juicy leads, all this other information that you could have collected that would have answered your requirements, but it didn't because you asked these questions and you stuck on one topic. Elicitation allows you to move through multiple topics at the same time. It's really brilliant. You need the details. So sometimes you'll get like this, I call it the 30,000 foot level information, but it's not a lot of details. You need specifics. Sometimes people don't want to give you that. They're okay giving you vague information, but not specific information. Use elicitation. You need to find out requirements, right? If there's any type of financial risk involved in hiring this person, merging with a company, partnering with an individual, you need to know the risk before you merge, you partner, you hire. So what if you cannot come out and ask those questions? You still need that information because you have a critical decision to make. Use elicitation. You can use it to find motivations. You can use it to find pain points. There's sometimes people will not want to tell you the information they know because they're embarrassed, they're guilty, they have shame about it. And so they will withhold this information, but you still need to have it to make these critical decisions. Don't ask for it. Use elicitation. You can use it to expand your network. It's a brilliant way if you want to get in a specific industry or meet people. It's a great way to share. Quid pro quo is something I'm going to run through. It's when you're sharing something about yourself. Typically, most people share something back. Now you've gotten to know that person. And when you get to know that person and you show interest and you discover common ground, that's the best rapport technique ever. And finally, I use it to help people. There's a lot of people who will come to me in my private mentor programs, and they come to me with struggles at work or their career or in their interview process. And if I know that there's a struggle, but they're a little hesitant on saying, well, I'm having a hard time with, then I draw that out through elicitation because I can't help them if I don't know all the information. So all around benefits galore. Why does it work so well? Well, because it exploits aspects of human psychology. I mean, this is the most brilliant way. It's science-backed, right? People have tendencies to want to do things and to not want to do things, right? We have a tendency to want to feel good and feel appreciated and be thanked. We have a tendency not to be able to keep secrets. We have a tendency not to be able to stay rational when we take something personally. And so what elicitation does is it's kind of links to each one of these things. And that's why it's so effective, because every single human will fall victim to these things on this slide right in front of you. I know for one thing, and James mentioned this earlier, the flattery. I'm going to teach you flattery. Listen, it's going to work great on some people. Other people, it makes them feel a little creepy, like me. So when people flatter me, I'm like, oh, what do I do with it? I don't know, and it makes me not embarrassed, but I don't know how to react to it. So that's not a good technique to use with me. But I will tell you, if you use quid pro quo, I'll be singing like a bird. This is why we have so many techniques, because some will work better on certain people and some won't work at all on other people. But they all tend and segue back to exploiting those aspects of psychology. And that's why it's so effective. So some considerations to think about. Number one, how are you going to come across as very trustworthy? That's critical. If people aren't going to trust you, you're not going to get the information from them. How are you going to be able to change that question to a provocative statement? And when we get into the techniques I'm going to teach you, I have examples for you. You're going to take that question before it comes out of your mouth. I want you to think about that question, and I want you to change it into a statement. It's the easiest thing to do. Just drop the interrogative, right? Deflect your voice instead of inflect it. But all you have to do is take that question, flip it into a statement, and then say it. It is absolutely okay to take a few seconds to think before you speak, because when you do that, everything you say will be exactly what you wanted to say, right? We have to speak with intention. We have to make sure we're communicating non-verbally with intention as well, because if we don't, that's when we send the wrong signal. All right, don't rush a conversation. When I first got into this field and I was hired by special forces to bump their students and test them in training, this is years ago. Now I train the special forces in elicitation and counter elicitation. I used to get nervous. Am I going to get the information? Are they going to know what I'm up to? And I thought, why would I even think that? No one knows what I'm up to. I will get the information and I don't have to rush any conversation. But that nervous energy, when I first started, I would go in and I'd rush the conversation. I'd try to push it along. All that did was make the person I was talking to feel a little edgy, a little creepy. And then I felt creepy. Mirror neurons, right? So just relax. Don't rush the conversation. Take your time. People will enjoy a conversation with you if you don't rush it. And then finally, plan out what you're going to say before you have the conversation. You have to have that plan. Here's 2 questions I want you to consider before you go into the conversation. Number 1, what do you want? Is it information? Is it a connection? Is it expanding your network? Is it a confession? What do you want? Right? Do you want to validate a new hire candidate? Do you want to earn trust? Do you want to reach an agreement in a negotiation? Know what you want. And then number 2, how are you going to get it? And that's that planning that conversation. So it's learning to control the conversation to the topics you want. But the first part, step number 1, trust and rapport. So let's talk a little bit about rapport. I already mentioned that I believe when you find common ground with someone, that just opens the gateway. I mean, the floodgates open. It's brilliant, especially when it's super genuine and very unique. I had a business meeting 2 months ago, and it was in Virginia. Had never met this individual before, but oddly enough, I trained his wife in law enforcement, so that was the connection. And we're talking, and we had something in common, which was so crazy. It was some music back in the 80s that I threw out a band name that only if you like this teeny little genre of music you would know. And he just went, I can't believe you know them. Boom, we were connected. That one unique thing, it doesn't matter what it is, you find it with someone, you will have that connection. All right, so that's step number 1. Number 2, you have to be open. I want you to be open non-verbally with your body language and open in your words as well. So you have to show interest in people. You have to speak less, let them talk more, and you got to listen. If you don't listen, people know that. And if they know you're not listening to them, they'll just shut down the conversation. Reciprocity and empathy, huge. If you don't have empathy naturally, learn how to get it and use it. Empathy is huge because it's also this way to really show interest in a person, put yourself in their shoes, walk their walk, feel what they feel. If you can't do that or even try to do that, it's going to come across as you don't care about that person. When you have that empathy, reciprocity comes naturally. Absolutely naturally. If you give help to somebody, help comes back. If you praise somebody, praise comes back. If you show interest in someone, they show interest in you back. It's just like a simple equation. And then finally, be kind. All right. Let me tell you a saying I have, and I've had it from day one when I was an interrogator. Never, ever mistake my kindness for weakness. I'm not weak. I control that room. I control the conversation. I will get the information I want every single time because I'm confident about it. But I will be kind every day, every minute, and I will be empathetic and respectful. Always, always, always. All right. I love this slide because it's a quote from like the grand master of elicitation who I learned from way back in the day. It's a conversation that's not left to chance. You're not just going to wing this conversation. You are going to plan it out and you're going to practice it. So John Nolan, godfather of elicitation, I call him, used to work for his company many moons ago, says this: most sources, people, don't see the seemingly inconsequential pieces of information they provide are all important. Because here's what we do in elicitation. We'll talk about this topic and get this little bits of information. We bring you over to this topic, get more. We combine the information together. Now we have the whole picture. But you don't understand that that's what I'm going for, that that's what I'm doing, because I'm just making statements, number one, and we're talking about random topics, but I'm linking them together for a purpose. And it's like that intelligence analysis of gathering all this information, creating that bigger picture. And that's why it's so effective. All right, here are the 5 techniques I'm going to run you guys through. Naivety, flattery, showing interest, quid pro quo, and false statement. I will tell you, challenge me, even in our Q&A after this, I can get anything with a false statement. It's that brilliant. And so when I teach this in my classes, I'll send them out for a homework assignment. And I'm like, tonight you have to bump a stranger, whether it's at a store, a retail store, or the gym, wherever. And I want you to get all this information from them, right? And it's easy stuff like their name, their nickname, or whatever. And I'm like, use false statement. You could get anything with a false statement. They come back the next morning, we do a debrief, and they're like, I can't believe it worked. I even had, when I gave this class online to another group a couple weeks ago, I think it was, or maybe a couple months ago, one of the participants left. It was just an hour of training. They left the show. They called their client, used elicitation, and signed a massive deal with them. And he wrote back, I can't believe it worked. So when I teach this, I get excited because I know it works. I've been using it for 23 years. It will work for you. So let's get into our techniques. Naivete, flattery, showing interest, quid pro quo, and false statement. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk a little bit about the technique, and then I'm going to teach you what it looks like, right? Or how to do it. And you can see it on the slide. Naivete is so interesting. And it's easy, right? I can use naivete a lot in certain subjects, and I'm not feigning it. Like, it's the truth. When it comes to technology, I'm awful. So if I feign ignorance or claim ignorance in technology, I'm not feigning it. It's legit. If you're talking to someone and you want them to expound on a topic, you want information about, let's say, I don't know, a certain software product, then if you express naivete or ignorance about this particular software and what it can do, and you know you're talking to the person who's an expert in it, most people will jump on board because they like to feel important, and they will talk all about the software because it makes them feel good to share their expertise. And this can happen with a software developer, an owner of a company, and even what it says on the slide, a janitor. It doesn't matter, right? Anybody who has pride in what they do will boast about it. This is what naivete would look like, switching it from a question to a provocative statement. The question is, can I trust you, right? Who's going to say no? I mean, most people are going to say, yeah, Yeah, you could trust me. We're in a negotiation. I'm buying a house from you, let's say. Can I trust you? That I say to the realtor. I'm pretty certain he's not going to ever say, no, you can't. I'm really trying to, swindle you out of a couple $1,000s here. So instead, I may say an elicitation statement such as, I'm a bit naive when it comes to trusting people, including you. I never know who to trust. And that's it. And you wait and you stop talking and let them pick up the conversation. So this way, I avoid giving you an easy way out of potentially lying to me, telling me, yeah, you could trust me when I shouldn't. And the elicitation provocative statement now opens the door to a conversation versus a, yeah, you could trust me, which may be deception. That's the brilliance of the provocative statement. Let's see another one. All right, flattery. Again, James tries to use this on me all the time, by the way. No, it does work. I do love flattery. Who doesn't? Most people love flattery. Sometimes, though, like if you're like me, it embarrassed me and I don't know what to do. I thank people, but I'm like, oh, what do I do, right? Other people, they handle it so well. And I'm like, why can't I handle it just like them? But it really appeals to most people. My thing with flattery is a little goes a long way. Don't oversell it because you're going to lose your sincerity and your credibility immediately. It will go in the toilet. People know when you're trying to embellish them or fluff them up, which is a nicer way of saying something else. So when you use flattery, I want you to do two things. Pick one thing and stick to the one thing, and that's it. But make that one thing something really special that they've never been flattered about before. Determination, a skill set, courage, power, their presence, right? Their leadership. Flatter people on something that means a lot to them. And then you just pick that one topic. That's going to show sincerity. That's going to really drive this technique home. So why does it work? Like I just said, it works on most people, and there's numerous studies that prove this. So let's do a little example. The question is, why did you decide to invest in that, whatever that is? If somebody doesn't want to open up because they don't know you that well, and they don't want to tell you why they chose to invest in that, instead, I'm going to use a provocative statement to get the information. And I'm going to say, you know a lot about tech, way more than me. I bet you had some good intel to decide to invest in that. And so I'm flattering you because I'm saying, you know a lot more, and I bet you got good information on it. And that's it. And then I stop talking. So a little flattery goes a long way. Pick the one thing that you want. And of course, you have to know what the information is you want. I wanted to know, why'd you invest in this company, right? This tech company. And instead of asking that question, I just use flattery instead. I will tell you, it's a nutcracker. It opens up a conversation. And I see I like these comments, and I definitely will answer all your questions at the end. All right, number 3, showing interest. The easiest to do. All you have to say, are you ready? Is I'm interested in, and then fill in the blank. Showing interest in your target. Target's not a bad word. It's just human intelligence lingo, if you want. Showing interest in your person, because we usually call it a target of information. This particular human has the information I need, so I'm going to target them, but it's not a bad thing. So showing interest in someone really encourages them to open up. It truly does. It's like flattery, but it's a little less I don't even know what the word is, but it's a little softer than flattery. And this is how you use it, right? I'm interested in, I'm interested about, I'd be interested to hear more. And that's all you have to do. So whether you show interest in someone, what they've done, their accomplishments, their family, they will tend to, if they're a person like a type A, they're going to tend to brag about it even more so. You've showed interest. They know that you're interested, so they're going to tell you all about it. Now, some people, if they're more type B or more introverted, it may take a little bit more to get them to open up. But I will tell you, this technique is brilliant. Some people may even say, oh, it's just luck. It wasn't anything big, right? Either way, it opens the conversation up. So here's the question. What do you think is a fair price for that service? All right. Maybe I'm selling something. Maybe I'm trying to do a price point. What do you think is a fair price to that service? If I don't want to ask that question, all I have to do is turn it into a provocative statement instead. You have a lot of knowledge in that area. I'd be interested to hear what you believe is a fair price for that service. Now, doesn't that come across way less intrusive? I just made a statement. I didn't ask you for it. 9 times out of 10, maybe even like 10 times out of 10, people will respond to a provocative statement more than they will a question. And that's just how it goes. They're disarming. Number 4, quid pro quo. You use this every day. You may not know it, but you do. Whenever we meet someone, what do? You give them your name. They give you their name back. So today, if you're up for a challenge, I want you guys to go introduce someone that you've never met before. It's a stranger. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to say your first and last name. So if I were to do it, I'd be like, oh, Lena Sisco. I will guarantee you that the person you are introducing yourself will give you not only their first name, but their last name too. It's this weird reciprocity thing that goes on. You talk about your favorite hobby, they're going to talk about their favorite hobby. You express your favorite movie, they talk about their favorite movie. It's the best way up front in a conversation to get the ball rolling and to get rapport. So, and for this, all it is 2 things, right? You have to think about what it is you want to know. Do you want to know their favorite movie? Do you want to know their favorite company who provides X services? If you want to know that, then you have to think of what you're going to offer up that's going to get them to reciprocate and give you the information you want. So for instance, if I wanted to know how much somebody makes, I need to know their exact salary, but I don't want to come out and ask them because maybe I'm an executive recruiter. I may offer up and say, well, I know that when I worked in that field or my other clients who worked in that field, the typical salary was like $120K per year. So we're going to see if they're going to come back and offer up something, right? Quid pro quo. Share something to get something. But if you want to use it to get specific information, you have to know what that is. All right, number 5. This is my all-time favorite. I could hold an entire conversation just by saying false statements. It's kind of funny. I've challenged myself sometimes because I still have to practice these things. A false statement. This is just what it says. You are purposely saying something that you know is untrue so that the person corrects you. Most of us have this correcting trait, especially if you're a type A. If we know better or we know different, we are going to be the first ones to tell you, no, it's not that, it's this. This one works on me. You tell me something that I know, I'm going to shoot right back and say, oh, no, you're wrong. And I can't help myself. It just comes out of my mouth. That's why it's so effective. So the question would be, how much did you get for a raise this year? And it's almost similar to what I just said with quid pro quo. I'm going to say, well, in your industry, their standard rate for an annual raise is typically $20K. Now, I have no idea if it is. I'm making this up. I know it's false, but I know that you're in the industry and you know what it is. And if I'm wrong, you'll correct me. So that's false statement. I did this so many times with trying to get, and when we do the exercise with my students, they'll go out and try to get nicknames. I have assigned so many nicknames to so many people. And they say, oh, no, it's actually not that. It's this. I'll give you an example. I do an in-person class in Clearwater Beach like every January. This year, I'm going to post one. It's a 2-day event in March. So stay tuned on LinkedIn. It's all about elicitation and other conversational skill sets. And I'll send them off to the Strip in Clearwater, and they have to go into businesses to have conversations with the store owners or the retail clerks or other patrons. It doesn't matter. And they have to collect name, nickname, favorite hobby, right? Easy stuff, benign stuff. So I went with two of my participants, and they're like, can you just come with us and watch us? I was like, absolutely. So we walk into Ron John Surf Shop. And Rocco comes up to greet us. Now, Rocco has a very thick New Jersey accent. So I'm like, oh, I'm already in with this guy. I'm from Rhode Island. I'll do the whole common ground. I'm like, I'll get his trust and he'll like me. So they start talking to Rocco and they're trying to get his nickname, and it's not really working. So I jump in and I say, Rocco, I'm Italian too. And there's one thing I know about you is that is the name on your birth certificate. And he looked, and I don't know this, right? I'm making it up. He looked at me. He's like, Yes. He goes, and I know you're Italian and from up north, and you know that that's my true name. In fact, my nickname is Ricky. Okay, there you go. Right. It's that easy. Elicitation is brilliant. Let me give you some examples before we open it up to Q&A. So this is a flattery example, right? My goal is to elicit information about the technical specifics of the Dragon, right? SpaceX's rocket. So I start with a provocative statement, and I'm talking to someone who works on this rocket. And I say, I don't know of any other aerospace company that has developed a reusable spacecraft other than SpaceX. And this person says, did you hear what Boeing did? Now, here's the catch. I don't want to talk about Boeing. I want to talk about the Dragon. That's what I'm after. So I got to take control of that conversation, bring it back to the Dragon. And then I say this. I don't think Boeing can match Elon Musk's innovation and the technology that went into the Dragon. So I'm not asking any questions. Provocative statements, provocative, provoking a person to respond. And I'm keeping on the topic I want to. Quick little example, but that's how you use it. Another example of staying on the topic. I'm an executive recruiter. My goal is to find out whether a job candidate is really serious about leaving their job and taking this new position that I've just got for them. So I start with showing interest and I say, I'm interested to hear how you feel regarding this big transition you're about to take. And they say, excited. I mean, I'm nervous too, but overall, I'm eager for the change. Now that makes me sound good, right? I'm like, yeah, this person's on board. They're going to follow through. But I just want to make sure. So then I use flattery and I say, well, good, because our client is excited to have you. And we both know that you're a person who's honest and has no reservations about accepting their offer. So it's a little bit of an embedded command. I've told you are honest. They say, no, I don't. I'm committed. And so then I want to use naivete as my last chance, my last probe, just to make sure this person's really going to take this job. It's not going to fall through the last minute. And I say this, that's great to hear. I've had candidates in the past who have changed their minds after committing to me and the client. Naivete, I have no idea how they could have that uncertainty at the last minute. And I just wait to see what they say, but I never, ever ask a question. Here's another example, my final example, then I'll open it up to some questions for you guys. I love this one because I do a lot of training for insider threat with multiple organizations, typically banking organizations. But here's a good example I came up with where I was at this one particular institution training. I didn't talk to them about it. I just made up this example for them. And after I was done, the VP stood up. He's like, how did you know that that's exactly what we go through? I was like, well, it's insider threat. So here we go. Say I am an investigative interviewer and I need to find out. I'm interviewing Bob. Bob works at the company, but he's been let go. Bob doesn't hide the fact that he's angry with the company in this decision. And last week, Nancy reported that Bob was downloading data on a USB drive, which isn't allowed inside this company for security reasons. So I am Bob's VP or leader or whatever, and I'm having a conversation. And I start with the naivete. And I say, hi, Bob, thanks for coming in and talking to me before you leave. I have no idea how you must feel right now. Because I'm not being let go, right? I don't know how Bob feels. I want to tell him, I want to show interest. Bob says, listen, I'm not happy, but it is what it is. So now I show that interest. I'm interested to hear exactly how you feel, though, the honest truth. Bob says, I'm angry. I gave 12 years to this organization and suddenly my job's not valuable or relevant anymore. AI is going to do it. I use express disbelief. AI can't do your job. You are integral. Unfortunately, because of automated programs, we have to slim down. I can't believe you think that we aren't grateful for all you did for us. Bob says, if you were grateful, I'd still have my job. I have 2 weeks to go and I'm not putting any effort into it if you get my drift. So I say with flattery, you don't have to be a rock star. You're honest and you're a hard worker. And I know even with the circumstances, you wouldn't do anything that would be considered malicious or illegal. Bob says, of course I wouldn't, because who wouldn't, right? So I have to keep going and I use naivete. Well, something happened that doesn't make sense to me. A colleague of yours told us that you were downloading data onto a USB, and USBs aren't allowed inside the company. Bob says, who said that? And I say, well, I'm not at liberty to tell you that, but I am interested to hear about why someone would say this. Bob says, I have no idea why someone would say that. So I used the false statement to seal the deal. They said they observed you downloading information last week onto the USB and then giving it to a contractor. Bob says, I didn't give it to a contractor. But Bob doesn't say he didn't download information on a USB. This has happened in real world to me. It's happened in my interrogations. And it's just a way for me to get to the truth, because that's what I need. I need the truth. And most people, if they know that there's repercussions, a punishment, reprisal, anything, right? If they know that it's coming down the pipeline, who is going to want to tell the truth? This guy's got 2 weeks. He could just slip right out. And this is so typical in the arena of people stealing their company's information, and then they get hired on by their competitor and they come with that information. Wow, who wouldn't want to hire them? Well, it's illegal. You're not supposed to do that. But there's a lot of people who do that. And so this is a conversation that I would lend to elicitation. All right, here's why we use it. And then we could do a Q&A, James. You don't want to be rude. You don't want to upset people. And a question may upset them. You want to relax people and create a comfortable, safe environment, I call it, for people to open up and trust you. You don't want to identify to others what you don't know. When you start asking questions about a topic, that just tells the other person you don't know the information to that topic. Do you want to have that? Do you want to tip your hat? Not necessarily. You want to establish a long-term, trusting relationship. It's got to be built on trust. And then finally, you want to have full control over that conversation, and you don't want to miss any detail, any lead, any information. And that's the value of elicitation. And that's what I have.
Well, that was brilliant. Thank you very much, Lena. Insightful as ever. So a couple of questions coming in.
Yes.
Okay, first question. The 80s band. The 80s band. Out of interest, who was that?
It was Front 242.
Yeah, you lost me.
Exactly. That's when I say it. People, if you know it, it's going deep down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, certainly not me on that one. The next question is, obviously we've mentioned flattery doesn't work on you. Yeah. And you've described 5 tips in elicitation. How do you know which type works on an individual?
That's a great question. If you don't know the individual well, you're literally just going to have to probe and try. So you're going to get immediate feedback, right? If you use flattery and the person shies away or looks away, that's immediate nonverbal feedback. Flattery is probably not the technique to use. If you use like a quid pro quo and it falls flat and the person doesn't respond, probably not the technique to use. So sometimes you're learning on the fly. If you know someone though, and look at their personality and their demeanor, are they the type of person who likes to be flattered? Are they the type of person who likes to talk a lot? Because then if so, flattery and quid pro quo would work great.
Okay, so trial and error.
Yeah.
A question from Ellie Smith about soft versus hard elicitation.
So I like to consider it all soft because it's not that questions. So for me, I like it all to be very soft. When I use elicitation, it's creating that environment where no one is aware that I'm coming after information. So I would call it soft. Hard elicitation is good. I would say that between the difference, it may be the objective. So if you are going out to recruit a spy, that could be a little bit of a hard interrogation, but I like to stick with the soft.
Yeah, because it was interesting because we were having a conversation just before we came live, and that was all elicitation then. That's just a natural conversation. It wasn't really planned. It was just we were open.
Yep.
Okay. And I know some of my team will be listening to this, and I dare say they will come in with some kind of pay rise type request. So now we've all been on this course, we've had a taster. I'm just thinking, is there a way that it can remain natural? Because I've gone through this, my team have gone through. How do we sort of make sure we're not it's not fake and it's still real, rather than me thinking, oh, you're trying to get some information from me through elicitation. I'm kind of trying to get the same through you because we've both been on this course. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. I'm going to go back to this. If you feel fake, you look fake. That's the bottom line. So the moment you start feeling fake, just stop what you're doing, go back to a normal conversation, go back to questions, think to yourself, what is it I'm really after? And if I feel fake, that person's not going to trust you. They're going to know, right? It's so easy to read through people. And conversely, on the other side, if you feel this person's being fake to you, you're going to have to do some counter elicitation and get out of that conversation. When I teach this, my students are so eager to try it in my longer courses that they'll come up to me on break and try to bump me. And I know exactly what they're doing, but I want to give them a win. So I'll go for it and give them the information. But you get that sense like, why did they just bring up this topic out of the blue? It doesn't make any sense. I feel a little weird. I might be getting bumped. So it's being natural. If you're not natural and you cannot link topics together, like bridge them with that natural transition, you're going to come across as fake and creepy. So use it when it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, don't use it.
Okay, that's great advice. A couple of more questions. They keep coming in. So can certain techniques be more dependent on age and gender?
Well, that is a really good question. Yes, because I'm thinking about naivete. You probably wouldn't want to use naivete on a younger person in regards to a technical field, right? Or their expertise, because they don't have that. So that wouldn't work. If you're in, let's say you have like a mid-level leader and you're talking to an entry level, you wouldn't use naivete unless this person came in entry level and they are this one little niche that they are an expert in. Then you could. But other than that, the years of expertise, experience on the job, that just wouldn't make sense. So that's a really good question.
Yeah, it is very good. Okay, another question. Lena mentioned seeing deception in truthful people. Mm-hmm. How would she spot these deceptions? Are we talking about visual cues?
Talking about both, right? So a lot of people want to just focus on the body language. Body language is critical, but body language can throw you right off because nervous people doesn't mean that they're lying. Nervous people can be lying, but they also can just be nervous. So you have to look at something called behavioral incongruence. That's the number one most accurate indicator of deception when the body language or verbal language don't match up, right? So if I were to say, I loved this session. I had such a good time. But I'm shaking my head now. I'm like, what? And I'm like, disgust. That's an incongruence, right? And I can get way deep into this. But a lot of times people will be so focused on looking for deceptive indicators, verbal and nonverbal, that's all they see. It's almost as though you've tunnel visioned your brain, your thoughts, to only see deception and not the truth. And when I do my classes on that alone, I have to make sure to tell people you have to look for both to remain unbiased.
Okay, good answer. I like that. I like the shaking the head thing. We did this on the podcast, didn't we? I asked you if you enjoyed our podcast.
And I have to think about it. I'm like, wait, no, because it doesn't come naturally, right?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. So in terms of timescale then, Lena, if I were to practice this daily and practice those conversations, how long do you think it would take an average Joe, me, for it to become natural and comfortable?
It depends on how much you practice. So for me, I told you I learned it. I hated it. And the only reason why I didn't like it is because I wasn't good at it because I didn't practice it. I learned it and I dropped it and I never touched it again until it just happened naturally. And I thought, ooh, I'm going to get deep down into this. And now I use it daily. Some people are super comfortable with it and they'll immediately jump in and start practicing. But the more you practice, the better you get at it. And the easier it is for your brain to say, question, flip it to a provocative statement, say the statement instead. So time, I can't really give you a time, but I will tell you this. If you start practicing once a day, like any question, start flipping it. In a couple of weeks, you're going to be mastering it, but it takes consistent practice.
So like if you're driving to work in the morning or driving back, just practice the conversations in your head. So the preparation piece. Yeah.
God, I do it all the time. All the time. I will talk to myself. If I found myself talking to myself in the store last week and I thought, oh, people are going to think I'm losing my mind because I practice this stuff. And I'm like, I have to do it internally.
And then do you have to let go of the expectation then? Even though you're practicing, you still have to let go of the expectation that you will have in that conversation.
Yes. So, and listen, when you practice and you first start trying this, you will fail. I will tell you, you will fail miserably. There's going to be times that you feel embarrassed. You feel like, oh, that didn't work. Who cares? Get over it, right? Leave it behind, keep practicing. At some point, it's going to click in with you and it's going to be so natural. Going back to that original question, when you feel natural doing it, you look natural. The expectation for me is expecting things of other people. We're not mind readers. So I can't expect you to know something, to not know something, to like me, to not like me, to think that this is the way I'm going to build common ground. Discover it instead. Don't expect it. Discover it. Discover it through conversation.
Yeah, I like that, discovery. I think the final question is, actually, I think you've got a new fan here. So what resources do you have to help people prepare for important conversations? Because obviously this is your day job, you do a lot of speaking events. So what resources do you have to help people prepare for important conversations?
There's a lot. So, I mean, obviously I have online training. I have a membership community, all that. There's books out there, not even just by me, but some of my colleagues, fantastic books. So for me, I do a professional mentoring program as well, where my clients work with me either 3, 6, or 12 months. It's one-on-one only, specifically tailored to them. And I gave one of them my 11-step critical conversations checklist. He uses it for every conversation he has. And he works in a very well-known medical institution that I cannot name. And he is in employee relations with physicians, and it's very difficult. He uses this conversational checklist on everyone. So if your followers, James, would like this, I will give it to you in a Word document or a PDF and you can share it. So yeah, or you can come to me, DM me here on LinkedIn, and I will, there goes my phone. I will share you all of the information on that.
That's great. Lena, many thanks. That's been a really insightful and interesting conversation. It's been brilliant. Thank you again for your time. I look forward to seeing you soon again as well. But until then, thank you very much.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Lena.